Hey everyone, welcome back to the Jack Chapple Show, and this is the stock market weekly recap. So we're going to cover some of the big news that happened this week in business, stock market, and so on. We're going to cover some of the stuff that I'm going to look for next week, some of the big winners and losers of the past week, and so on. So anyways, let's get started here. How did the big indexes do last week as a whole? Well, let's just take a look here. The S&P 500 was essentially static. It was down 0.18%, so S&P was essentially the same. Dow Jones, that was down 0.21%. Again, that's not a big change at all. So fairly static from those two indexes. However, the Nasdaq was up 1% this week, 1.09%, a pretty good week for the Nasdaq. But anyways, the markets as a whole were fairly boring for the most part. We didn't have anything last week like we did the week before where the tech stocks just hit the fan, where the poo just hit the fan, right? Nothing really major happened this week, but we did have some big stories. Some big stories came out. One of the big ones that I talked about this week was Snapchat. So I'm going to just do a quick overview of that. Earlier in the week, I talked about how Snapchat got a lifeline from Time Warner. So Time Warner put a $100 million investment into Snapchat, so that they could use it for advertising, for developing those shows that are on Snapchat that are 3 to 5 minutes long. Anyways, that was a big bump in the stock for one day. And then the very next day, Instagram and Facebook, they released the amount of daily active users that they have now. And in terms of Instagram stories, so the Instagram stories has 250 million daily active users, and they're averaging a growth of about 16 million users for that one specific part of Instagram every single month. 16 million new users for Instagram stories every month. Meanwhile, Snapchat is only gaining roughly 1 to 1.5 to 2 million users per month, meaning that the Snapchat stock did not do well this week whatsoever. In fact, they took a dip of about 2.83%, 2.5%, 2% this week. They did not do well at all after that news came out. And to be honest, Instagram and Facebook are just leaving Snapchat in the dust right now. And I've been saying this for a while now, since Instagram stories came out. I mean, it's not really fair. Facebook has such a big audience, so does Instagram, and it's so easy. I mean, every time you log into the app, you see Instagram stories. So they have 700 million active users on Instagram, and that translates into about 250 million daily active users, for Instagram stories. So it was really easy for them compared to Snapchat, who has to work really hard to get users for this one specific part, for this one specific program, essentially, this one specific app. Meanwhile, Instagram's got everything. Search tool, pictures, 30-second videos, live. Now they're archiving live footage. Instagram's just killing Snapchat. So Snapchat really needs to innovate soon, or else they're done. They're going to go the way of Vine. They're going to go away. So I'm interested to see what Snapchat's response to this is. How are they going to grow their user base? How are they going to innovate so that they can differentiate themselves from Instagram stories? How can they make themselves better and put themselves on their own platform that no one else has, like they had 2 years ago? 2 years ago, they were a fast-growing app that most people would bet on, and now it's a dying app. So that was a big story this week. We went into more detail about that, but we're going to move on here. Just quickly, I just want to touch on the Trump tax cuts. So the big news was that Mike Pence announced that these tax cuts would, for sure, nearly certainly take place by the fall of 2017. So we're a few months away from that, about 3, 4, 5 months away from that before the tax reform goes in place. And those of you that don't know, this tax reform is absolutely massive. The average American household is going to save $1,000 to $3,000 per year on taxes. Some might be even more than that. If you're making less than $25,000 a year and you live by yourself, then you pay no taxes. If you're a married couple and you make less than 50 grand, you don't have to pay any taxes. So massive tax breaks for the middle and lower class here in this tax reform. And we're seeing tax breaks essentially all across the board. However, in this tax reform, they're also saying that they're closing a lot of tax loopholes for the people at the very top, which I like. So they're not letting them put their money overseas as much, or finding loopholes for them to put their money into tax havens. So that's what I really like about this tax reform. I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm Canadian. We're raising taxes till the top is going to be taxed at 60% now, which is kind of crazy. But that's a whole different story. So do I approve of the tax cuts? I mean, maybe it's going to grow the economy. It's projected to grow the economy 3%, although it's also artificially inflating the stock market. I talked about that earlier this week. One of the reasons why these PE ratios are so high and people are really bullish on the market is because there's these promised tax reforms that are going to be good for businesses. I mean, people don't understand this. I know a lot of you do understand this because you are interested in investing and in business and money, that tax cuts for businesses, for small businesses like me, they're really good. Like, I'm going to hire people if I were to get a tax break. Although, you know, the person who I wanted as prime minister in 2 years, they went out of the running now. They lost the leadership race for the Conservative Party. But now I don't know who to vote for, to be honest, what party to vote for. So anyways, that's a whole different story. But tax cuts do help small businesses. Like, I want to hire someone, and if I could save, you know, an extra few $1,000s on taxes, that really helps into hiring people. Like, a few $1,000s, that can be what? An extra 10% of pay of a new employee's pay? Like, that can be a massive amount. That could be the influencing factor between me hiring them, you know, in 3 months versus 5 months. That's what the difference is. That's what the tax cut is really good for in my mind. Plus, it's good for the middle class families that will have an extra $1,000 to $3,000 per year, an extra few $100 a month, in order to actually just like feed themselves and to not have to struggle with the bills 24/7. So that's what I appreciate about tax cuts. However, there's lots of other problems that come with that. He's cutting a bunch of government funding. We're not going to get into that though. There are downsides to that, but economically, it's a good thing. So we're going to move on here to McDonald's. There was some big news this week about McDonald's, how they are, or their 2,500 stores will have electronic ordering kiosks within the next year, I believe. And so the stock shot up. It's already up 25% this year. They're going to have mobile ordering in 14,000 locations this year. And pretty much there's big news just because they're saying that we're replacing our employees with robots. So as a human person, you know, as a human person and as someone who cares about people having jobs, that's not a good thing. Okay, when people's jobs are being replaced by robots, yeah, okay, so we're gonna see, you know, for every 3 cashiers that have their jobs replaced by these machines, we're gonna have 1 replacement job in people who build the machines and maintain it, essentially. That's what we're gonna see, and we're gonna see more profits go towards the investors like myself. So it's good for the people that are investors, that know how to manage their money, that know how to invest money, but it's not good for those teenagers that are trying to look for a job for the first time. It's getting tougher and tougher every single day for millennials like myself and all of you watching this. It's getting tougher every single day to find jobs. So that's why I always say to you guys, now is the most important time to make your own job. Become self-employed, start your own business. I mean, every single day, sure, the unemployment rate's dropping to nearly, it's a 3rd or 4th lowest unemployment rate ever in the history of the United States, right? But what they don't tell you is that these jobs, they're not paying well. They're 20, you can't support yourself on a lot of these. They're 25 grand, right? 25 grand a year, 30 grand a year, 35 grand a year. And a lot of these jobs are in places where, you know, you're in poverty. You're in New York, you're in California, where you can't afford to live on your own for that much money. And it really, really sucks. So that's why you got to start your own thing and try to grow your own business right now. It's so important. I mean, this is just news from just one of the biggest companies in the world. They just said, look, we're replacing our cashiers with machines. This is starting right now. All of our teenagers that have been working as cashiers for the past 70 years, they're gone. They're going to be gone in the next 10 years. We're going to replace them with these machines coming up here. So what do you guys think about that? The McDonald's thing, that really piqued my interest because I made this video earlier in the year about the robot economy, how robots are replacing our jobs. And so it's really important now to create your own business. It's as important now as it will ever be in your lifetime. Start right now. Start right now. Build your own empire so you don't have to worry about these machines taking your jobs, right? What's that South Park? They took our jobs, right? I don't know if you've seen that part. That's one South Park episode. So anyways, we're going to move on to some of the stock market winners and losers. So I talked about Home Capital. So Home Capital Group is essentially a subprime mortgage lender / bank in Canada, and they were on the brink of brink of bankruptcy 1 month ago. People were defaulting on their loans. 95% of the people who had savings accounts with them, they took their money out. 95%. So they lost tons and tons of money to play with. Well, play with. I know banks are, they lend out your money essentially. When you deposit your money in the bank, they just lend it out for mortgages. It's a whole crazy system. But anyways, so they were on the brink of bankruptcy. And then what happened was they were also under investigation from the Canadian Securities Commission, I believe. And what happened was that the Security Commission said, look, you didn't do anything completely illegal. We can't really find anything right now. There's no evidence right now. And so right after that case was dropped, their stock shot up from $4 a piece or $5 a piece to $9, okay? And so that was a big relief for the company. That single-handedly prevented them from bankruptcy. Because all of a sudden, instead of having to pay a multi-million-dollar fine, they're let off that. And now they have a little bit more of a runway. And so, the very next thing that happened this week was on June 21st. I think it was June 21st or 22nd here. Oh, the white knight showed up. Warren Buffett showed up and saved this company. So the company was still not making money. No one was putting money back into the bank, into savings accounts, into certified. I forget the acronym for CTA is. Excuse me. It's in the top of my mind. I just can't remember it right now. But people weren't trusting the company because what happens when a company like that goes bankrupt? You lose your money. If you put $3,000 into that and the company goes bankrupt, your money's gone. Okay, it's just gone. So that's why everyone was taking their money out. However, Warren Buffett showed up and made I believe it was a $2 billion investment in the company and bought out 38% of the equity in Home Capital Group. So what happened to the stock? It shot up 25% in one day. 25% in one day. Now, so they had a big gain this week. Overall, they were up 25%, but it essentially happened in one day. All because of Berkshire Hathaway making an investment. So everyone became more confident. They were thinking, hey, Warren Buffett's investing in this company, $2 billion. Why can't we? Why, this company's not going to fail. Warren Buffett's investing in it. He's the perfect investor. And so it was really smart of Home Capital Group, actually. Home Capital Group, they had 70 offers. They had 70 offers to take for people to invest in this company to save it. And they had a handful of better offers. One of these, I think it was the CEO was on BNN, and he said there was a handful of offers that were financially, if you're just to look at it on paper, that were better. However, they took the one with the credibility, with the Buffett name behind it, with the Berkshire Hathaway name behind it, because that would get confidence from the consumer back into the company. A very, very, very smart move. So what's going to happen to this company? I don't really know. What this does is it gives them a runway of about, in my mind, I estimated about 2 to 3 years for them to restructure. All right, to restructure, to find a better way to do what they were doing, to try and potentially, make more profits. This company's been around since 1977. They've been very successful over time. They've been around since 1977. And perspective here, in 2000, okay, their shares, they were a penny stock company. In 2000, their shares were worth 84 cents. They peaked in 2014 to about $54 a share. So you would have had a 6,500% return if you invested in them in 2000. But now you still would have had a 2,000% return. Right now the share price is $18.61 as of today. And we're going to see what happens with this company. My dad invested in this company. He made a lot of money on this deal. He made thousands and thousands of dollars by investing in them a month ago, because I kind of informed him, what do you think of this stock? And I didn't buy it, but he did, made lots of money. Great for him. So I don't know if this stock is going to keep going up. It depends. I'm interested to see how they restructure the company, how they can avoid some of the defaults, how they can get some of their consumer confidence back apart from the Buffett name. I'm really interested. So I'm going to keep an eye on it over the next few months or so. We'll see. But that was big news in terms of Canada specifically that happened this week. We talked about some other things. We talked about how Walmart might send out a bid to outbid Amazon for Whole Foods. I don't know the validity of that. But that was something that came out of, I believe it was Goldman Sachs analysts or some big financial firms analysts like JP Morgan or someone like that. They said it's a possibility. Walmart might buy Whole Foods as a defensive measure to keep Amazon out of the grocery market. So quite interesting. I don't think that they're going to do it, but it was just something I talked about this week. So let's see, some other big news this week. So BlackBerry, the company, I just so badly want them to succeed, but just because they're in the town that I love. They're in Waterloo. They're a Canadian company, and boy, they took a kicker this week. They dropped 12%, 9% this week, and they dropped 12% in one day. So they were big losers this week that I talked about. And let's see, what else can we cover here? So I want to talk a little bit quickly about energy companies. So again, I was looking at this. Oil is at essentially very close to becoming a 10-year low for oil prices and oil companies as a whole. The sector's not been doing too well. And so I said this last week too, like, you can check on my website. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but I was really considering buying some oil stocks last week. And man, even more today I'm considering buying oil stocks. So I'm probably going to take another deep look at them this week and see what happens here. But I think it's a good opportunity. But what do you guys think? Because, you always hear in the news, like I just heard again, there's some, I think it was France or someone said that they plan to become 100% renewable energy country in the next 10 years or so. And so they're not allowing oil companies to start up anymore. It was somewhere along those lines. I don't know the truth to that. Maybe you guys can let me know. However, what do you guys think about renewable energy right now versus oil? Because, I think I own one semi-renewable energy stock right now, and it did very well for me last week. I think I was up 6% last week. So I had a pretty good stock market week, to be honest, guys. I did my breakdown, my portfolio update on my website. I'll talk about that in a second. But I don't really know what to think about right now, because I know in the long run, renewable energy is the way to go. However, for the next 10 years, I'm not betting against oil. We're at a really low point in oil prices right now, and it's really exciting as an investor, to be honest. So oil's what $43 a barrel or something like that right now. So I don't know. I'd like to seriously know what you guys think about oil this week. What do you guys think about investing in it, and so on. So the last thing I want to touch on, just some confusion about my website. So my website, I launched this thing called the VIP program, and so essentially I'm making a few stock breakdowns per week. I'm also showing you my thought process and me looking at hundreds of stocks before I make a trade, okay? And I've made 4 trades I started a new account, okay? A new account, and I pretty much said 3 or 4 weeks ago, like, what happens if I just invested today? And I was a beginner like a lot of you are out there. And so I opened a new account. I've been in the last 3 weeks I invested, it was like $4,300, somewhere around there, and the portfolio is now like $4,700. So it's been doing pretty well. However, I just wanted to mention that because there was some confusion about, like, what am I showing you guys? I'm showing you my exact trades. I'm doing exact breakdowns. I'm showing you, last week I mentioned how many shares I had in these stocks and so on. So if you guys are at all interested in that stock market program and me giving you portfolio updates and showing you what I'm investing in this week, then please check that out in the link below. It's been going very well lately, and my investing's gone pretty well. We're at a profit for the first 3 weeks, $400 on about $4,300. So, that's close to a 9% return in a few weeks. So that's pretty good. Anyways, is it 9%? I don't know what the number is in my head. But anyways, that's going to wrap this video up. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. You're all very beautiful people, and I'll see you guys in the next video.